My name is Emma Thornton, and I am 34 years old. I live in Riverview City, a place that feels so vibrant yet possesses an undercurrent of darkness that can surprise anyone. I have always been passionate about doing the right thing, especially when it comes to regulations. In my early career, I worked in a highly regulated industry where maintaining the highest ethical standards was paramount. But that place quickly turned into a nightmare, thanks to my boss, Karen Dipshit. The very name makes my blood boil. Karen was the embodiment of everything wrong with corporate culture. She was reckless and arrogant, always cutting corners and making decisions on a whim that could put lives at risk. Despite witnessing her irresponsible management firsthand, I did everything I could to hold her accountable. I reached out to the chain of command, listing specific incidents where her decisions put us all in jeopardy. Each time I was met with the same tired response. This is the way it has always been done. After making 3 attempts to alert my superiors about her borderline criminal acts, I realized I would not find a safe haven there. That was it for me. I couldn't stay any longer with my name attached to such an organization. So I quit. I thought I was leaving that dreadful place behind and that the universe would eventually ensure Karen got her comeuppance. I found a new job enforcing regulations in a different state, feeling free from the shadows of my past. For 5 years, I worked hard ensuring businesses complied with the rules, and I took satisfaction in knowing I could ultimately revoke their licenses if they dared to violate regulations. It was a fresh start, a chance to rebuild my values without the constant threat of Karen looming over my head. But just when I thought that the chapter with Karen was closed, fate had other plans. Due to a string of egregious issues and numerous consumer complaints, the enforcement agency decided to send every available person to Karen's business to review her records. Can you believe it? I was chosen for the job, and I felt a whirlwind of emotions. The chance to step back into that world and confront her wrongdoing was both exhilarating and terrifying. For the next 4 weeks, I was going to comb through her files and tally the fines she owed. My heart raced with anticipation and bitterness as I walked into her office once again. The atmosphere felt charged, electric with the intensity of all the unresolved tension from my previous experience there. As I dug into her records, I couldn't help but recall the countless times I tried to save us from her dangerous decisions. To my shock, I uncovered a trove of negligence, proving that Karen had not changed in the slightest. She still used all her old tricks to exploit the system and put others at risk. With each complaint I reviewed, the picture became clearer and my anger reignited. It felt like poetic justice. I had often been threatened and intimidated by her, warned that I would lose my career if I didn't fall into line, and now here I was. She might never confess, but the truth was finally on my side. What made it even sweeter was training her staff on how to do their job correctly, arming them with the knowledge they needed to hold her accountable. They were gracious and eager to learn, and I could barely contain my smirk as I watched them prosper, while Karen remained oblivious, skimming through her daily tasks as if nothing was happening. The first week of the review flew by, and I got deeper into the murky waters of her operations. The sense of satisfaction was almost overwhelming. I was not just uncovering facts, I was righting a wrong that had hung over my head like a storm cloud for years. I meticulously documented everything, preparing to present my findings with the kind of clarity that was impossible to ignore. With each passing day, my anticipation grew. I imagined the look on her face when she realized that her negligence would not only cost her financially, but would also severely damage her reputation. I could almost hear Karen's frantic attempts to dismiss my findings, her usual bravado faltering under the weight of undeniable evidence. Every time I encountered her employees, I felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. I had exchanged my role of a pawn in Karen's game for being the vigilant guardian of regulations. As the 4th week approached, I remembered how she had tried to undermine my confidence, how she whispered in hushed tones that I would never succeed without her. Little did she know, I'd become her worst nightmare. Finally, the moment of reckoning arrived. I compiled my report, ensuring that each infraction was clearly documented and outlined. My heart raced as I prepared to present the information to my superiors. Karen had never truly understood the weight of her actions, and I was determined to make her face the consequences once and for all. As I stood before the board, I felt a surge of power unlike anything I had ever experienced. The description of her practices rolled off my tongue, and the room grew tense as I saw their reactions. Gasps, murmurs, disbelief, their faces mirrored my own emotions from those dark days. When I concluded my report, I took a moment to look around the room, taking it all in. My heart swelled with vindication, knowing I was finally revealing the truth, not only for myself but for everyone Karen had harmed. The consequences of my actions were swift and severe. Karen was summoned to answer for her negligence and reckless behavior. I felt a dark thrill as I watched her being confronted with evidence she could no longer deny. You could see the facade she had built crumbling around her as she tried to deflect the blame. Yet this time the people in that room were no longer on her side. They were finally seeing her for who she really was. The fallout was monumental. She faced hefty fines, potential criminal charges, and her business license was on the line. It was the moment of justice I had always dreamed of. With the storm behind me, I could finally breathe. I stepped out of that boardroom with an overwhelming sense of relief and satisfaction. My life had changed drastically since I walked away from that toxic workplace. I had not only moved on to a better role, but had also become the guardian of ethics that I had always aspired to be. Now, as I walk through the bustling streets of Riverview City, I take pride in my work, knowing I truly help people and keep businesses honest. I see a bright future ahead of me, one where I continue to hold individuals accountable for their actions. The final twist came when I received a letter several weeks later indicating that my old workplace was under investigation for multiple other violations. And to my astonishment, Karen was the main focus once again. As I read that letter, a smile crept across my face. The universe has a way of working things out, and this time it was swinging my way. I found peace in knowing that even when I had risked everything to expose the truth, I ultimately found my victory in the chaos she created. With that realization washed over me, a sense of hope filled my heart. The world could indeed be made right again after all.